Any man who is not attacked in Jewish newspapers, not slandered and vilified, is no decent German and has no true National Socialist value.
Hello, fellow American. I am an American, and I would like to have a talk with you, another American.
Sure, I am also a red, white, and blue-blooded American, yes.
Indeed, yes. Do you know what I enjoy most about America?
What, my fellow American?
I enjoy baseball the most.
Baseball. I enjoy a wonderful American apple pie.
Yes, American apple pie is great. I also enjoy American hot dogs.
Hot dogs, yeah. I enjoy voluptuous white American women.
Yes, white American women, as well as Michael Bay.
Michael Bay, yes.
Michael Bay makes my dick rock hard.
Yes, peanuts, granite, yes.
Yes. I saw you were reading some literature when I stepped into frame. Tell me, is that one of the great American classics, such as Catcher in the Rye, or To Kill a Mockingbird?
Not exactly.
Well, let's see it. What great American classic is it? Is that Mein Kampf?
Maybe.
No, oh my god, dude, I'm one too!
Oh, what do you know?
I know, we were both doing the secretive thing.
Yes.
Oh, man.
Oh, secret handshake.
Oh, yeah. Oh, man, it is so good to see another one.
Yeah.
You know what I've realized since I've moved to America and completely lost my German accent?
Me too. I've lost the entire ability to decipher the German language as well.
Same here. Anyway, I realized that I just fucking hate puppets.
Puppets?
Puppets. Fuck puppets.
Fuck puppets?
Fuck puppets.
I don't have any problem with fuck puppets.
No, not fuck puppets. Fuck puppets.
You lost me.
Well, look, we watched a movie today.
Puppet Master, Axes of Evil.
Yes, those puppets.
Yeah.
Fuck those puppets.
Fuck those puppets.
But more on fuck the director.
David Dakota.
Oh, he's back! I want it before we do anything else. We're not actually Nazis.
No, I collect these because I have a literary interest. Also, any people who've actually read Mein Kampf should agree with me that this is one of the worst books ever written. Oh my god.
Not for content.
Hitler didn't even write this book, and my god, he couldn't fucking write it.
Alright. On to David Dakota's 9th installment in the Puppet Master series.
Well, directing the 9th installment, not his 9th installment. That would be insane.
That would be incredible.
But at the same time, he's done like 5 of these.
Yeah. He's probably made most of them.
Yeah.
Here's the lion's share of other directors. Alright, so I'm going to give a little bit of a thing.
Plot's very simple.
Not plot.
It's the equivalent of like a scene.
I need a prefix. I know nothing of the Puppet Master series. This was the first time I've ever been exposed.
Yeah, I have a cursory knowledge at best. I watched them years ago.
Yes.
I'm more of aware of them than anything else.
So we are going into this knowing nothing about Puppet Master. As such...
Except for a couple of the characters for me. I knew a couple of them.
As such, we will do our best not to chastise things for not making sense if it seems like it was explained in a previous movie. But beyond that, we're going to view this movie as a movie thing.
And reviewing this as a Dakota film.
A Dakota film.
Now, having said that...
For those of you who are new, we have done...
Go back to 13 months.
We've done 12 to 13 Dakota films,
yeah.
Including a talking cat, a talking pony, and everything that starts with 1313.
We literally... And the funny thing is, though, he never even was on our list originally when we started. He is the most featured director on this show.
Yeah.
And... that's saying a lot, especially since some of the directors that hold like the high candles we've never done movies of. Like,
yeah.
Was it? We've done a couple Uwe Boll films,
Done a couple Uli
Lamels and whatnot. We haven't done any like
Michael Bay.
We haven't done M. Night Shyamalan. We haven't done Tyler Perry because we don't touch that shit because you know why.
All right, so
if it ain't obvious enough,
these are all about the film itself. Let's get into the plot.
This movie came out in 2010, by the way.
2010. So the Puppet Master has been running since 90 or 80?
I actually think it was like 80, like
it
89
was
or something
80s.
like that. Like, correct us if I'm wrong. I mean...
I could check later. But, alright, this particular movie. It opens up with the original Puppet Master, Tulu? I don't know. Tolu, I think that's maybe. He is 1939, and the Nazis are coming to look for him because they want his supernatural puppets that are able to move by themselves he ends up shooting himself, which is actually apparently something that happens in the first Puppet Master movie.
It's stock footage.
Yeah, it's all archived footage.
I'll get to that point in a minute.
So then it transitions to this kid named Danny, who he wants to go fight in the war against the what they call the Krauts and the Japs, but he can't because he had polio when he was younger and he can't pass the physical. So he instead is very keen on woodworking. He builds a lot of benches and chairs and stuff, as we see him do, and he takes an interest in these puppets that he gets once the original Puppet Master dies, and he brings them back to his home in a nondescript Chinatown somewhere in America.
It's in Los Angeles. It's supposed to be in LA.
Around there. So then these puppets, he realizes they can move on his own, as he already knew. And he stumbles across this Nazi plot, along with a Japanese woman, to blow up a factory that's making bombs for the U.S.
You're just sitting around.
Big old thing. Yeah, they're just in the factory floor.
Nobody's around.
So he decides to... He takes the puppets and all that, and he just essentially takes out the Nazis and the Japs. From there, there's like 4 different plots going on with like his mom dies, his brother dies, they kidnapped his girlfriend on his birthday too, I think, or something like that.
I don't know. Something
like that. And from there, he has the huge fight and he takes out the Nazis and the Japs. But it turns out, in the end, was it the Japanese woman or the Nazi that took the puppets? It was the Japanese woman.
Japanese woman.
The Japanese woman took almost all of the puppets that he got, except for 3. Blade, Tunneler, and Pinhead.
No, it was...
Ninja.
Ninja.
But Ninja was dead, so, whatever.
Well, he was just dead. They had to inject him with more serum.
We're not going to get into each of the individual puppets. If you're really interested, go ahead and take a look at that on the wiki. Anyway, that meant it was a cliffhanger for the next film that came out, which I guess was already in pre-production at the time that they made it.
I guess.
Of Puppet Master X.
Charles Band, man. This guy just loves cranking these things out. He's been a part of this series since the beginning. His name's above the title.
Yes. So that is the entirety of Puppet Master 9.
Now, referencing the archive footage at the very beginning of the movie, when we were watching this, I'm like, oh shit, I've seen this one and whatnot. Like, oh, I remember this. He's going to run down the hallway, he's going to knock on the door and whatnot, and he's going to get picked up and all that jazz. And then we ended up realizing that this was stock footage. I'm like, no wonder it looks so familiar. It's because when I was younger, as a kid, I've probably seen, I think it was like the first movie.
Original Puppet Master.
So it was the first film I had seen on like the Sci-Fi Channel or something like that growing up. So no wonder it looked familiar to me. I've seen a handful of these movies already. I remember Tunneler, that goddamn drill sound effect and whatnot. I can't stand it when I go to dentists and all that stuff. I can't stand it in the movies. He just,
I want to plot out a tiny little plot factual detail. This entire movie, it opens up with whatever bay they were staying at.
Bodega
Bay Inn. That it was in 1939. Basic World War II knowledge says that America didn't get involved in World War II officially until 1941. So, when he's going off to fight in the war, or when he's trying to at least, and his brother actually ends up getting in, no, none of that. But they had to set it in 1939 because that's when the archive footage from Puppet Master 1 took place.
Uh-huh.
They messed with actual factual things to make it fit within their own timeline. And that's pretty incredible.
And there's lots of... I don't even remember all the instances, but there were tons of instances. I'm like, no.
There was kamikaze pilots.
Yeah, that wasn't around
That wasn't
yet.
until much later. One of them mentioned Auschwitz and...
Yeah, they mentioned the concentration camps. I'm like, that wasn't a thing until 1941. Yeah. There were concentration camps. I don't deny that, but at the same time, they were not called death. They were not death camps at this point. The final solution had not been enacted. This was 39. This was like the start of the war. Mm-hmm. Also, it was talking about the push into Stalingrad and whatnot. That didn't happen until later, if I'm not mistaken. If I'm factually wrong about this stuff, I apologize. There's a lot of information to say, but we had Zach here. He'd be able to say it off the top of his head. The guy's like a sponge with this info.
What was the other thing I wanted to talk about? Oh, I accidentally skipped over in the plot, and I realized it as I was saying the words. A somewhat important thing to mention is his brother is killed for plot. And what he ends up doing, what Danny ends up doing, is he takes the serum that causes the puppets able to move.
It's all green glowy.
He mixes it with his brother's blood, and then he injects it into the ninja puppet, who currently didn't have any life force or whatever was necessary.
It was broken.
So he fixed up the ninja and he injected it with it, essentially imbuing him with the soul of his brother.
Yeah.
Which, that was a somewhat minor plot point that I felt deserved to be mentioned, because they did build it up throughout the entirety of the movie.
Yeah.
Because his brother was all
sneaky.
It was all sneaky.
Kitty.
So yeah, I felt it was worth mentioning.
I was expecting they were going to go the reanimator route and whatnot. He was just going to pop up. He's like, because start making smart-ass remarks.
They had the scene where he was like opening up the syringe, like pulling back the bobber, and then he walked over to his brother, stuck the needle, and was like, "Oh shit!"
But he was just still pulling out. I'm like, no, it's the other way, dude. It's the other way.
What? And then they brought it back over to the officer. Oh, just blood. Yeah, no, that's reasonable.
Because, everything in this movie just makes so much goddamn sense.
Alright, let's go into characters. Let's start with Danny.
I love also how it's just this green ooze, and it just works. Don't question it.
I'm sure it's explained in other things, but...
I don't even know if I give the Puppet Master movies that much credit. One thing is for damn sure, this movie was listed in horror. This is not a horror movie.
No.
There's not an ounce of terror in this movie. The most
terrifying thing in this movie...
It's probably the sushi scene.
The sushi scene and the other Japanese guy. There's 2 deaths that are gruesome.
And they're at the bottom of this... very end of the movie.
Very end of the movie.
They're the last bookend of the goddamn film.
There's a puppet called Leech Girl, and she spits up leeches, and then she drops one onto a Japanese guy's sushi plate.
He doesn't give a fuck. He just eats that shit.
It, and then it devours his throat, and he spits up blood and he dies. The other one is a tunneler who has a drill on his head that Matt mentioned earlier, and he just drills straight into a Japanese guy's head. So
the blood in that one was really watery and shit like that. I'm like, what? Are you getting sprayed with Kool-Aid?
And even then, it was a 2-shot. It showed him straight from above, getting covered in blood on his face, and then it immediately switched to a side angle with the drill drilling into his head, and his blood was gone on his face.
There was no blood at all.
Clean.
There was no blood coming from the drill or anything like that. It's just like, you forgot something.
Continuity.
And the funny thing is, this goes back to Dakota. This is his last entry to date. I don't even know if the series continues on after the next movie. There's a sequel, after this and whatnot. But the fact of the matter is, Dakota's put 5, I think 5.
Yeah.
5 entries into the series.
He goes under different names at some point.
Yeah.
Like Victoria Sloan is also him.
Yeah, he goes by tons of different pseudonyms.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is, though, you would think, especially he's been involved in the Puppet Master series since the 3rd one. You would think that someone who is so well-versed in the Puppet Master mythos would be able to make a legitimately good Puppet Master movies within the context of the movies themselves. I'm not expecting, the most amazing types of horror films here. But at the same time,
we're not expecting Cabin in the Woods.
Yeah, but this movie is so dull.
I think
it's dull comparatively. Yeah. I mean, it's not boring per se. Shit happens and whatnot. And to be honest, actually, a lot more shit happens in this movie than all of the other Dakota films we have seen.
Yeah.
Combined. Yeah. That says a lot. His older work was a lot better, at least from what we've gone through.
Even then, we say older work. This is 2010.
Yeah. His older work, everything, ever since he's, and also when he started Rapid Heart for Brotherhood in 2000. So I actually think that was his kind of descent into madness.
Rapid Heart's a production company.
Yeah.
But, okay. I want to go real quick through characters. Danny, he's whiny. He's like Captain America before he gets the serum. He's like, I want to fight for my country. I want to do something great, but I'm just a weakling and I can't do anything. Okay, shut up. Get buff.
Hey, motherfucker, I got asthma and I can still be in the army. I just don't choose to because I don't believe in it.
There was his girlfriend, Beth, who, for the longest time in the beginning, as he's like, listen, that guy you were talking to, he's a Nazi spy, and my puppets can walk and talk. And she's like, oh, Danny. It's like, do you see how serious he is? Look at this face. That is serious.
That's super serial, man.
You don't just pass that off as you're joking.
And also, the fact of the matter is, even if the guy was going nuts, which they never ever claim that he was, also, there's a couple subplots that never go anywhere. One, the guy who owns the hotel at the very beginning, there's a long sequence with him at the very beginning.
I feel like he was exposition man.
Oh, he was, but at the same time, you think that there was some connection there, that they'd need at least have a conversation about him going home afterwards. And then, for some reason, the owner of this warehouse, it has like sinister music and all sorts of shit. I'm like, oh, he must play a big part. Yeah. He's in one fucking scene.
The guy is essentially there as the stirring of wire.
You're a little pussy, aren't you, or whatnot? I served in World War I when I was 15. It's like, you just bitch about your leg. I'm like, you can't fake your way through a physical, dude. Yeah. Especially, according to the backstory of this, he had polio, and he managed to live, which, to be honest, actually, during those days is incredible. Because for all you anti-vaccinators out there.
Alright, moving on.
No, the fact of the matter is, though, polio has no cure.
Has a vaccine.
It has a vaccine. There is no cure for polio. The fact of the matter is, you either die from it or you survive it. That is it.
Well, yes, that is how binary systems work.
Yeah, but the thing is, though, like, there's no, like, managing it and shit like that. Like, there's no way to treat it.
He done good.
But that's the thing, though. One thing, like, even if he had polio, this guy doesn't even really have that much of a limp. He's able to run full tilt in some of these scenes.
Which that might have just been a character thing. Like, they needed a reason why he wasn't going out to fight, just to add some sort of character drama. But
you could do for a couple different reasons and whatnot, or if anything and whatnot, make him have a legitimate limp that really, like, he needs, like, help to get around. Like, he has, like, a leg brace or something. And thus, because of that, because of his inability to fully, function as a mobile person, is the fact that's one of the reasons why he uses the puppets to get where he can't.
Okay, so yes, we talked about that. So the other characters, his brother, I can't remember his name at the moment. Generic, pretty much, the going off to fight the war, but he is a generally caring brother.
Yeah.
Like, he's not like the douchey, like, I'm going off to fight the war and you can. He's like, hey, listen, you fight the war in your own way. You do your thing. Yeah.
He's actually a supporter of, actually, all the people who are around the main character, all the core characters, they're very supportive. I'm like, wow, this has the most amount of character development of any Dakota film we have ever seen.
Pretty much. I actually knew their names for the most part. Then you have the Nazis. One of which is Klaus, of course, and the other one is
Max.
Max, who goes under the American name Ben when he's posing as a factory worker.
You know the joke at the very beginning?
Yeah.
With us with the accents?
With that, it's because they were spies.
And they didn't have a lick of German.
They
spoke a couple words in German, but at the same time they couldn't even manage an accent. Mm-hmm. The Japanese woman was dumb.
Well, hold on. I want to get to the Germans first, and then I'm going to get to her. Germans first. Klaus, he was basically the backup character. Max,
he didn't even speak.
Max was the real one. He spoke Heil Hitler and a few other lines.
That's basically it.
But
congrats, get your check.
Max was the main guy. He just chewed the fucking scenery.
If he was chewing the scenery anymore, he'd be biting the furniture.
Yeah, it was great, some of the scenes.
He's like, Heil Hitler!
He wasn't amazingly over the top. He was pretty subdued at times. But when it came to the fact that, I'm evil, ooh, he just fucking had fun with it. Then the Japanese woman. I forget her name. They called her Dragon Lady. I know that.
She always wore kimono.
Yep, and
which is kind of funny because she's hiding out in Chinatown, but she's wearing a kimono.
Yeah.
Unless I am getting that piece of clothing completely wrong. If I am, I apologize.
Really, her only character thing is the dubbing. They got a actual Japanese woman, obviously.
Which in China, I'm surprised.
And yeah, we didn't even mention it. This whole thing took place in China.
Yeah, that's the only location that we found shooting this movie was in China.
Yeah.
And not even anywhere specific in China. It just says China.
China. Mainland Asia.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
And this is supposed to be... Alright, I'll bring up the Chinatown bit in a second and whatnot. I was like, well, I might as well do it now. Okay. It's like, the fact of the matter is, though, this is supposed to take place in a Chinatown in Los Angeles. Now, I'll tell you one thing. There's a lot of white people walking around from Chinatown. And there's a lot of white people. There's like one scene that we see any type of Chinese, any Asian people and whatnot walking around. It was an outside shot in the middle of the day. And one of them was wearing a cowboy hat. Like, it's like, yeah, like, why? Why? Even if you're in L.A., who in their right mind in L.A. would wear a cowboy hat? Unless you're acting on a movie, which I do not think you are. Well, actually, technically, you are and whatnot. I was like, I guess, you know, some of these people in China like, oh, well, this is an American film, so cowboy hat. Mm-hmm. But still, at the same time, it makes no sense on why this white family, and also at the same time, there's plenty of different types of people who live in different types of areas. I don't doubt that there's plenty of white families or black or whatever type of families and whatnot living in Chinatown areas and cities. I've seen it before. But at the same time, though, the ratio is usually primarily like 90% Asian. And the fact of the matter is, one, they're nowhere to be found in the majority of this movie. Other ones, like, why aren't they all getting suspicious with all these random white people running around? Like, it's getting a little frustrating.
Forget it. It's Chinatown. Anyway, moving on. Overall, the Japanese woman, she was dubbed the entire time. And it was really noticeable because they got an actual Japanese woman. And she was speaking English. You could see her mouth was speaking English.
You could tell it was dubbed.
But it was someone else talking. And I'm not sure why. Everyone else was fine. Everyone
was always a little slightly off.
What Matt suggested was that the accent was just a little bit too thick. Like a Japanese accent. So when they watched it back, they're like, it's not going to work. They're not going to pick up what she's saying.
I mean, that's happened with plenty of people. Actually, what was it? Udo Kier, who's a famous German actor. I'm pretty sure he's German. He was in the movie Suspiria. The voice dubbing for him, that was not even close to his actual voice. So the fact of the matter is, though, like, I get it. Doesn't necessarily mean I agree with it.
Okay, so that's all the characters, and I'm fine, basically. Do you want to...
The plot and whatnot has already gone over. That's pretty much all. Like, the movie is relatively well shot. The lighting's pretty good. The cinematography. This is shot on film.
Just make this ground fall.
And whatnot. But basically, my final thoughts to the whole shtick is the fact of the matter is, it's not an impressive film by any standards, but when it comes down to Dakota's movie, what we come to expect for him, and to be fair, we're all focused entirely on his work that he made in like 2012 and on to this point. But the fact of the matter is, though, this is 2010. This still shows the fact that this guy actually has some quality to his work, and I've seen a couple of his films earlier on. I've seen his movie Creepazoids, which he did in like 87. It was one of his earliest films. Also, the Cinema Snob did a review of it like years ago. But the fact of the matter is, though, he has some genuine talent when it comes down to this stuff. And this movie actually proved that to me. Why don't you use it, David? Why don't you use it? Come on, man. We know you're working with. I don't have any problem against you personally, necessarily. I mean, let us know. Send us a video response.
Okay.
But overall and whatnot, this movie is, without a doubt, I think the most flaccid member of the Puppet Master family right now. I have no doubt we'll probably go back through the other movies, but other than that, this movie was relatively forgettable.
For me, I don't know. See, I'm torn. When it comes to movies in general, this isn't good. It's not bad on what we've seen so far. You look at some of our other films, this is nowhere close to that. But it is in that same camp of, Dakota. This is the perfect example, and this is to everyone that is interested in film. Dakota is the perfect shining example with this film of what can be done with care. What can be done with effort. You can make the worst film you've ever seen shot in 2 days and call it 1313, kick it out the door. Or you can put some time and effort, actually go to location for some things. Instead, he could have gone to Chinatown, to an actual Chinatown near his Miami home. But he didn't. He went to China. Actual China.
They have tons of like period stuff like cars and shit.
I know. He had actual stuff. And it's so incredible the amount of effort that was put into this. He didn't produce it. That was Charles Band.
Yeah.
Charles Band produced it. So maybe it was whatever Charles wanted and Dakota would have been fine shooting at home. But either way, you showed effort. You showed initiative. Where has that gone? I'm just... It's less about the movie itself and it's more representative of Dakota as a whole. Like, Dakota, come on.
I mean, we ripped on you a lot.
We ripped on you a lot, but you have potential. That's why we're ripping on you. You have potential. You've done stuff.
Step up, mister.
Stop kicking out these terrible films that you only kick out because, oh yeah, I'm sure somebody will watch it. No, make something a lot of people want to watch. I was actually invested emotionally in some of these characters. When the mom and brother died, I was like, oh shit. Like, I cared that they died.
Shit's going down.
I never once said, oh shit, in the 10, 13 films that we watched. Never once, when a character died or was captured or something, I went, oh shit. I was like, who are they gonna get next? I just knew it was coming.
Who's gonna rub on somebody else?
Exactly. And that's the biggest problem I have with it. Dakota, step up your game. Movie, it was alright. But
just got a text.
It's alright, I was done. Very silent, very convenient timing for a text. Anyway, Puppet Master 9. Axis of Evil. Okay, alright. Yep. Text. Ow. Oh, okay. I'll read it aloud for you. Hello, we are the Nazis. We do not like your depiction of us at the beginning of this review. They are very efficient. We have stolen your little dog. They just list off their manifesto here for quite some time. Okay, here we go. If you want your little dog back, you must watch Puppet Master X Axis Rising within the next week. We will be waiting. Heil Hitler, and then 2 little emoji hearts. Oh, that's nice. There's only really one way to respond to Nazis.
All the bad boys want some more, it's tricky.